The recording has started.
Sounds good. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Mayor Manager meeting for Wednesday, March 29th. Online with me is Deputy City Clerk Sarah Harkness, City Clerk Stephanie Carlisle, City Attorney Tamara Niles, City Manager Shawn Lewis, Mayor Pro Tem Stephen Ward, and Deputy City Manager Tim Dodd. Tim, I think you'll be leading us today with our City Manager a little bit under the weather, so I'll kick it off to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So again, looking at the 3rd, which is coming up, we have 2 study sessions, one on the annual report of Inglewood's contracted emergency management manager through Arapahoe County, and then also draft vehicle action plan. And so I'm looking, do we have, so we don't have discussion times for either of these yet.
Okay, can we do 15 minutes for the emergency management and the EV action plan? What, 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Sounds about right to me.
Is that presentation really 15 minutes? The action plan?
I can ask Mel about that. That does seem a little bit long. I know that a lot of work went into it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can see if she can maybe take that down to 10 minutes if that's amenable.
Sounds good to me.
Great. So then going through, the next thing is we have a resolution for Bates Logan renovations, grant phase 2, not on consent. The Arbor Day proclamation. On consent, we have a motion to approve the change order for the contract between CPS Consulting and the City of Englewood. This is an HR contract that we have that we're ending, but we have some money we need to pay from it. We then have a motion to approve the Dartmouth Bridge Widening Project Construction Management Services, also on consent. And then we have an executive session. And then we also have a bill for ordinance second reading on consent for CB 16 to approve ordinance for an IGA for the South Broadway intensity activated crosswalks or hawk signals. Also on consent, we have CB 9, second reading, approve an ordinance for electric grounding facilities easement at Bellevue Park. We also have a bill for ordinance second reading, a lot of these on this meeting. CB 15, approve an ordinance authorizing an IGA for the South Broadway Complete Streets Project with CDOT. And then also on consent, we have a bill for second reading, CB 13, which is to approve an ordinance for the 2023 IGA with RTD for the Englewood Trolley. Also on second reading, CB 14 on consent, IGA with City of Littleton for dispatch all health mobile response unit. Also second reading, but this one's not on consent, CB 19, amending Englewood Municipal Code sections regarding fermented malt beverages and wine retailers. Also not on consent is a bill for ordinance second reading, CB 18, second reading for planned unit development at 1314 West Oxford Avenue. Also not on consent, which if you don't mind scrolling down a little bit, Sarah, so you can see the date. Thank you. Is a bill for ordinance second reading, CB 17, second reading for a major subdivision. And the notes here show the PUD should be first, and then this item would be immediately following. And then also the last item we have for this date with a lot on it for sure is on consent, bill for ordinance first reading, CB 20 redistricting.
Sounds good. Is there a reason why I thought the fermented malt beverage wine retailers, I thought that was 5-0, but I may be wrong. Is that the reason why? Because you abstained, Steve?
Yeah. So I would have to abstain from the consent agenda if it was embedded in there. So that's why we pulled it.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay.
Cool. Can we go back to the contract amendment? I have some questions on that, and I'm not sure that it's appropriate for consent.
Which one? Which item was that?
It's one of the very first items. The contract amendment.
For CPS. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What was that contract?
Yeah, so so CPS is a nonprofit that provides all range of HR services to nonprofit organizations and government entities. And so we use them in the past about a year and a half as our HR department was understaffed. We're now, as of Monday, fully staffed. But this basically was a change order that I think bumped the amount past the $100,000 threshold. So that's why it's coming before you.
And just for my own clarification, what types of services were they providing or are they providing?
Yeah, so the main things that they were originally contracted to provide in the summer of 2021 were mostly around benefits and retirement management. And then they also did quite a bit of work around workers' compensation processing. And then at different points, they've had to assist with other services as well that are provided by our business partners now.
I think that's going to get pulled.
Okay,
So I think we should leave it off consent.
that's good with me.
Ready to start the 10th?
Yep.
Great. So we have a study session on Planning and Zoning Commission returning to in-person meetings. Do we want to assign a discussion time for this now or wait for these?
Actually, we could put a discussion time on it. I'd say probably about a 20-minute discussion, 20.
Actually, sorry, this item, they requested to move it to May 10th. Just wanted to, that was just a
Okay.
request that was recently made, so that will be moved. Okay.
Okay. Then the next one, council members travel to CML conference June 25th to June 28th. Do we want to bake in for placeholding purposes a few minutes for discussion on this, or?
Is there a reason why this is a study session item? I'm thinking that the conversation is going to be very quick.
Yeah.
I think we
So-
do tend to put those under what, mayor's or council members' choice at the end of our
Well,
meeting?
I think we've already discussed it during members' choice a couple weeks back. I think Steve and you and Jim, right, or asked to go to CML.
I know I have my approval.
Yeah, and same with Jim. That there was no. Yeah, everyone was in favor of having both travel. So
Okay,
I'm not sure if
I
there
think-
should be a study session item, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that it should be study session, but I believe your council policy requires that information be in the packet.
Okay.
So Krista was just, I believe, following the policy so that it was on a formal agenda as opposed to just kind of brought up.
Okay.
Okay. So the next one, proposed revisions to city telecommunications code. We have a note here. This needs to go first due to costs for outpaying outside counsel. Do we want to sign a discussion time?
I'm thinking 30 minutes, but maybe go longer than that. So, Steve, any idea? I think 30 might be
No, I think
fine
30
for
minutes
now.
is a good shot.
Okay, 30 minutes for that one. Then the next one, victims compensation funds, victim compensation mechanism for consideration in Englewood. Looks like we have a 15-minute presentation on that.
15-minute discussion, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Now, Tamara, wasn't that an item that came forth earlier this year to us, or?
We have discussed it several times,
Okay.
but this is an actual presentation by the city prosecutor who's going to survey other cities and the
Okay.
state and say, this is what other places are actually doing. This is the funding mechanism. This is the oversight, the distribution. And then if council wants to proceed, give us some direction, and then we will draft an ordinance to create one.
Okay, perfect. That's great.
Okay, so I had 15 minutes on that. And the next one is preliminary 2024 revenue and expenditure underlying forecast assumptions.
Okay.
So we have a 30-minute presentation.
Should we go 30 there? I'm not sure if we'll need all 30, but
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
we could-
discussion will take that long.
Yeah.
I think this is largely presentation, so maybe
Yeah.
10 minutes on discussion.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, 10 minutes. And then the last one for the 10th is South Platte Renew Biogas Update.
Probably a 15-minute discussion.
Okay. And then moving on to the 17th, would you like to wait on setting discussion times
Yeah.
for these until your meeting
Yeah,
next week?
exactly.
Great.
We'll just go
So
through the
just to run, sorry.
Yeah, we'll just go through the items.
Okay, great. So we have a study session for council bill amending the city's short-term rental regulations, a study session for non-enterprise fund capital project prioritization, a study session for consideration as citizen of the year, We then have a recognition of Elevate Englewood graduation. If you can scroll down a little bit, thank you. We have a proclamation for Earth Day, proclamation for Small Business Week, a motion to adopt the electric vehicle action plan. And do we also want to hold off on some of these where consent's a question and tackle those next week, or do we want to do that today?
I'm sorry, what was that, Tim?
Oh, sorry, Mayor, on the agenda for the 17th, we have a few where it's a question mark as to whether they should be on consent. Do we want to talk about that today, or do we want to wait until next week?
Let's wait until next week.
Okay.
And
So adoption of, oh, sorry. Sorry, Tamara?
I do have one correction on the short-term rental. That will be an action item, not on consent, not study session. I will fix that. The clerks are trying to teach me how to do iCompass, and I did it.
Okay.
Still learning.
I was going to ask about that.
All right. Yeah, so adoption of electric vehicles. So that's up for discussion about whether it be consent for next week. 2023 Slurry Seal Project, motion on consent. Removal of Parks and Recreation Commission member, motion on consent. Pirates Cove food vendor, motion on consent. First reading of code adoption for building and fire, question about for consent to tackle next week. And council bill revision short-term rental regulations, first reading. And that's what we have for the 17th, excuse me. And then do we want to go through the 24th, or do we want to stop here?
Yeah, let's go through the 24th since that's a few weeks away.
So we have an update to review preliminary 2024 capital projects list. We have a few project items that are going to be coming for you this spring and into the early summer. List with city council and boards, commissions, and committees. We have a study session to do a presentation by Arapahoe County representatives regarding the county's regional opioid council. We have another study session on sixth and final presentation, phase 2 of the city charter project, beginning to end review. And then we also have a study session on the March 23rd monthly financial report.
Okay. I'm fine not looking at the other items for the rest of the month, unless Steve, you want to go through them. I do have a question on the item for the 10th regarding the postponement of the discussion on P&Z. Is there a reason why we're postponing it a month?
From talking with Nancy and community development, they're trying to gather information from IT regarding the costs involved
Okay.
and having in-person meetings with their the person they contract with to help with streaming the meetings.
So it's actually providing us figures for it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure we weren't expecting to have P&Z. There was some other reason, but okay, good. I would, so just regarding, I'd hate to postpone it into May. If there's any way that we could get it in April, I would be, I think it's just better that we have that conversation sooner rather than later.
Okay, I can relay the message.
Yeah. Cool. Any council requests, Tim?
I don't have a record of any. Shawn, were there any?
There were a couple.
Yeah, there were. I had 4 from Member Russell. How many fires, injuries, and fatalities occurred in the Denver Fire Service area? What role did sprinklers play in these fires? What role did access to secondary egress play in saving lives? Would single access stairwells be allowed for commercial, mixed use, and office buildings? And that's all I have.
Okay. I don't have my sheet in front of me, but that sounds about right. All right. Anything else from staff?
Not for me.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Anything for you, Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, everyone. That concludes today's Mayor Manager meeting. Shawn, feel much better. Everyone else, have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.